So you're teaching middle school language arts. What books do you select to help teach your standards? Maybe you've been given books by your district or school as a required reading. Maybe your grade level team decides together, or maybe it's up to you to decide what books you'll be using in your classroom. Hi, my name is Kyra. I am a pre-service middle level English and history teacher, and today I'm going to be talking about 3 books you can use in your middle school classroom. For each book, I'll be providing a brief summary, some lesson plan ideas, explaining why your students will enjoy this text, and even some cross-curricular opportunities. So the first book we're going to be talking about today is The Underneath by Kathy Appelt. This is a Southern Gothic children's novel telling the story of an abandoned calico cat and her kittens who end up living with a mistreated dog in the Louisiana bayou. The 4 hide from the dog's terrible owner Garface, but the kitten's curiosity gets the better of them, leading this unlikely family on a journey to honor important promises. It's filled with mystery, magic, and emotional intensity. So before we talk about how to integrate this book into your classroom, let's talk about some important points relating to this novel. So the Lexile range is 800 to 899 or a DRA level 60. It's recommended for students ages 10 to 14. The chapters are short, so it's sure to keep even your youngest reader engaged. There are emotional and dark content and themes such as animal abuse, violence, and death are present. So keep these things in mind when deciding if The Underneath is right for your classroom. So now that you've decided if The Underneath is right for you, now it's time to integrate this into your classroom. The Underneath can help teach a variety of literary devices. This book models literary devices such as personification, repetition, theme, motifs, and even more. So let's start with theme. The Underneath covers a variety of themes that any student at any level can grasp. There are surface themes such as family, nature, love, loss, and there are even more complex themes that your higher level students are going to understand, such as vulnerability, generational curses, resilience, and limitations of agency. So what you're going to do is you're going to begin by teaching a lesson on theme and have students apply their knowledge using The Underneath. So throughout the novel, students are going to identify at least 3 themes that they've noticed. This can be a little bit tricky if this is the first time that they're interacting with this, but have them at least identify 3. Ask them to write down lines from the text that support their theme because they're going to use that later. So at the end of the book, have them complete a writing assignment narrowing down to just one theme and ask them to use their text as evidence. An alternative assignment would be to create a literary device worksheet, which you as a teacher would create, where students identify devices such as figurative language, repetition, theme, personification, and even more, depending on what you are trying to focus with in your classroom. And this works particularly well in a middle school classroom where the teacher is reading aloud and the students are following along, because they can just go ahead and write down as you are reading. But keep in mind, students may require additional class time to finish up what they're doing, or you may have to teach additional mini lessons based on the content. So you're going to collect the worksheet at the completion of the novel and have a class discussion about the literary devices. What did the students really struggle to identify? What were they able to easily identify? And it's also a great time to practice those higher order thinking skills and ask riveting discussion questions so they can really take their understanding of the novel to the next level. Students will enjoy this novel because there's many different layers to the stories, many different lovable characters. It really brings nature to life and definitely has a lot of cross-cultural storytelling. But this book does have the least cross-curricular opportunities of the 3 I'm going to talk about today, but you could partner with a social studies teacher to talk about the geography and the Louisiana-Mississippi region, maybe even have them teach a lesson on Native American history, heritage, culture, storytelling. Or you could partner with a science teacher to teach students about what a bayou is and what type of animals you might find there. But this could even just be something that you include in your English classroom in a context PowerPoint before you guys start reading. So you don't even necessarily need to partner with other teachers, but it is an idea. So the second book we'll be talking about today is Midnight Without a Moon by Linda Williams Jackson. This is a historical fiction novel set in 1955 Mississippi, following the life of a 13-year-old black girl named Rosa Lee Carter who lived with her sharecropping grandparents. She dreams of traveling up north to escape the plantation lifestyle and deep-rooted racism. But everything changed when Emmett Till, a young African-American boy who allegedly whistles at a white woman, is found dead. A trial begins when the murderers are found, but this is only the beginning of the change happening in Mississippi. Will Rosa be an agent of change or escape to the north like she's always dreamed? Some important notes about this novel is the Lexile ranges 800 to 899 or DRA level 60, which was the same one as The Underneath that I just talked about. It's recommended for students 10 to 12. Murder and domestic violence are topics in this novel, so please be aware of that, but it does have a very rich educational value since this is based on a true historical event. So keep these things in mind when deciding if Midnight Without a Moon would be right for your classroom. So when integrating this novel into your classroom, I would highly recommend pairing this novel with the social studies curriculum. A history teacher could lecture on racism, the civil rights movement, the murder of Emmett Till, which is one of the key stories in the novel, or even just the socio-political climate during the 1950s to give some background. You want to do this because history is definitely going to come to life through this book, and you want to have your students knowing everything that they can walking into it. This book could also be paired easily with To Kill a Mockingbird, so maybe that is one of the required readings for your district or school. It can definitely be paired with that because it's similar content and themes. But my number one recommendation for integrating Midnight Without a Moon into your classroom is to head over to jacksonbooks.com and download the discussion and activity guide. It is 14 discussion questions aligned with Common Core, so if you're using Common Core, this is going to seamlessly transition right into your standards that you're already doing, and there's also 11 more discussion questions as well. Linda Williams Jackson actually wrote this guide herself, so it's definitely very reliable, professional, relevant, clear. You cannot go wrong with this, you guys. The questions are asking all kinds of things about literary devices, settings, characterization, figurative language, and so much more. So check out the link below. This is free. You definitely want to take advantage of it. It's basically a built-in lesson plan. Students will love this book. The narrator is compelling and relatable. It includes complex family structures which many of your students are going to be able to relate to, and it contains many coming-of-age ideas like being conflicted between parental beliefs and the beliefs of your own generation. And out of the 3 books I'm recommending, this would be my top pick for your middle school classroom, so this comes in at number 1 for me. Finally, the third book that we will be talking about today is Orleans by Sherry L. Smith. Orleans is a dystopian novel taking place in a now collapsed New Orleans after a series of devastating hurricanes and the Delta fever. This book follows 15-year-old Finn, a Delta native, whose tribe has been ambushed and is now left with her friend's baby. In an unlikely encounter, she meets Daniel, a researcher that is snuck into Orleans looking to refine his cure. Together, the two face terrifying obstacles as they struggle to survive without the protection of a tribe. So some important notes about this novel: the Lexile is 750, so it's right in that range that we've been talking about for the other 2 books as well. But it is recommended for students aged 14 plus. This is because there is rape, death, and some intense action throughout this novel. So you might want to send a letter to a parent's home explaining the mature content of the novel and even talk with students through some of the intense sequences. So keep these things in mind when deciding if Orleans would be the right fit for your classroom. So when integrating this book into your classroom, I would definitely recommend teaching it with point of view alongside reading the novel. The novel is from alternating perspectives. So you have Finn, who's giving you a first-person narration, and you have Daniel, who's giving you a third-person limited omniscient narration. So it is a very strong mentor text for point of view. And as students are reading, you can have them discuss the importance of having 2 different perspectives, 2 different point of views, and what it could reveal about the plot, character, settings, even more. There's so many different ways that you could run with that. And then you could have them in a writing prompt, have students write from the perspectives of a person living in Orleans. To make this a little bit more specific, you could have them pick a character that's a freesteader or is a part of a particular tribe, and you can ask them what they might see, experience, any discrimination that they might face. It's a really great activity for descriptive writing as well as for perspective. So there are many cross-curricular opportunities within this novel. You can pair up with a science teacher to talk about climate change and natural disasters. This would be a great time to focus on hurricanes and their impact. And blood typing is actually a main form of hierarchy in Orleans. So you could talk about blood type and how you get your own blood type. History teachers can give a lesson on Hurricane Katrina and natural disasters within New Orleans. And to add to the history lessons, you guys could watch a documentary entitled Closed for Storm. This was released in 2020, and it's about a theme park in Louisiana that was left abandoned after the irreparable damage from Hurricane Katrina. It's like as if history is totally frozen in time, so it's very relevant for students, even though this was in the past and they may have not been born yet. They probably haven't been born yet since they're middle schoolers, but it makes it very relevant to them and their lives. And you can watch this documentary for free with Amazon Prime subscription, so I will link that below as well because it is a great documentary and students will really enjoy it. Students will love this novel because it's filled with adventure, it's fast-paced, it's definitely a true page-turner, and especially because it's so relevant considering our historical moment with the COVID-19 pandemic, so it's sure to interest your students of a future that seems not quite far off. So I hope you found these suggestions helpful. If you end up using any of these books, lesson plans, any of these ideas, I would love to hear from you, but thank you so much for tuning in and have a wonderful day.